Hi, good day everyone, and it's still your girl Oyindalara, and this is another episode of Diary of a Nigerian Teacher. And today I have a guest. I'll be talking with us. I'll be discussing with us some of the challenges school owners face with teachers and with parents, and how they've been able to scale through. And some of the questions you asked will be answered in this episode. So I won't be telling you the name of this person yet until we come back after this break. We have a guest, like I told you in the first part that we have a guest. So now we are going to go straight up with our guest here. And as a matter of fact, he's been in the educational sector for 22 years. Remove 22 years from my age, that's like I was probably a toddler by that time. But anyway, so we are going to start straight up. So thank you very much, sir, for agreeing to be on this episode with me. And thank you very much for honoring this. It means so much to me. God bless you, sir.
You're welcome.
So let's go straight. Can we meet you, sir?
Yeah, my name is Vincent Oluwakinkotu. I'm the proprietor of Master Point Schools. Master Point Schools consist of primary and secondary school. Yes, it's located at Ijede, Ikorodu, Lagos State.
Yeah. So we are shooting this video out from the United States of Ikorodu. Don't worry, Ikorodu is going to be United States later on. So we are speaking into existence. So let's go straight up. So, sir, you've been in the educational sector for 22 years, and what can you actually say about the education sector or the educational system in Nigeria as a whole?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think the educational system is evolving. I take serious exception to the perception by most people that there is a sharp drop, in the quality of our education. I believe it's a disservice. As far as I'm concerned, the educational system is evolving, and it can only be better than ever.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, as a proprietor of a primary and secondary school, what are the challenges you've been having, basically with teachers, with students, with parents, and generally as a school owner? What are the challenges you've been having?
Well, if I'm to talk about personal experience, as it were, I may be right to say that we are particularly lucky at our school. This is premised on the fact that there is a good working relationship both with parents, students, and the staff. For instance, the most important thing in staff and employer relationship has to do with their welfare. Here with us at Master Point College, we ensure that our teachers are paid as earned when due. For instance, we made it a culture to ensure that teachers are paid, or that they receive their salaries latest by the last Friday of every month.
Wow.
And that's exactly what we do at Master Point Schools. And this has really kept us going. For instance, I may be right to say it is one of the reasons we hardly lose any of our teachers. Save for a few of them who had reasons to either relocate from the environment or luckily got a job, that pays them better. That's it, yes.
Wow, I'm actually impressed, and I'm so impressed in two ways that you have held onto that like a goal that you need to achieve, because trust me, I've been in the educational sector for almost 5 years now, and the various schools I've taught and I'm still teaching, the school owners can't boast of what you just did, as a matter of fact. And I can't even say it. I can't say it myself that there's a particular month that ended immediately and we're paid. All right, another question I got from parents is the number of subject basic schools, that's like basic 1 to, let's say, basic 5 or 6, the number of subjects they offer. Some parents are feeling that the number of subjects are too voluminous for children of that age, because some of them will have to carry bags that seem like traveling bags. And some of them are struggling with the subject, one particular subject, and you're giving them like 10, 12, 13 subjects to do. Like, it's not voluminous compared to what we had when we were in primary school.
Yeah.
Why is that?
The truth is this. In the wisdom of the policymakers, they have decided on what we are supposed to do. But if you are seeking my personal opinion, I would say that I agree with you entirely, that they were giving these children more than they can possibly take. For instance, the effect of this policy is that most of our children or students nowadays are crammers.
Yeah.
They are crammers, They don't really have this thing in them. For instance, you may have a child in the basic class, the grade class, who may be able to tell you the 36 states we have in Nigeria and their capitals. But by the time you ask this child midway to actually tell you the capital of a state as you want to arrange it, more often the child begins to have no idea, unless you allow that child to read it the way he has been taught. So what that tells us is that most of these children are crammers. So if it's possible, if I have a say, I would advise that our policy framers, should have a rethink, because when you overburden these children, don't forget that some of these children even go to school at tender ages. For instance, in our time, we didn't even have access to education until we were age 6. But these days, we even have a child of less than 2 years old who is already in school. The effect of it is that he doesn't even have that parental affection. There is a disengage. And once there is this disengagement between parent and child, of course, the consequence is what we have today in the crime rate that we have, on our hands. And that's exactly the problem. So for me, the volume of work we give these children can better be imagined. Okay,
I'm sure that also explains the assignments and all that, because some parents are like, as some assignment they cannot even answer it themselves, and they will give to their children, and they'll be wondering, how does this teacher even want me to answer this question? Some of them, so I guess that explains it, because it's a whole lot, I must say. Then getting to another part of the question concerning the closing period for these kids. I was wondering why some schools, for basic school, why they should close by 4.
Yes.
What are they doing in school till 4 for basic school? And some schools make it very compulsory that after normal school they will still do lesson. Why?
It goes beyond that. You see, the truth is that we are hypocritical. That's the way I see it. Now, when a school wants to do it the reasonable and the normal way, there is the tendency for parents to assume that the school is not doing enough. For instance, an average child who would need to attend school in a city like Lagos would need to have woken up as early as 5 in the morning, the age notwithstanding. It is more worrisome, for instance, if that child makes use of the school bus system. It means some of these children will be picked from the home as early as 6 a.m. or 6:15. Now, when they get to school, they train them or teach them, as it were, from that time, say from the hour of 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. Then from 2 p.m., they relapse into a 30 minutes break or so, and they take another class from 2:30 until 4 p.m. And of course, they have litany of assignments to contend with when they get home. The effect is that the brain actually is saturated. It doesn't have anything. So most of these assignments we even talk about, you find out that the adults at home are actually the one who help these children to take this assignment. So of what benefits are the assignment to the children? But like I said, it's just the kind of society we find ourselves. A society where people want to be impressed. Instead of allowing the reality to be done, they want a situation where the children actually take assignment when they get home. And the question I often ask myself is this: if a child gets home by 5 p.m., what is actually expected of that child? That child, for instance, as I do with my children, would be expected to first of all run a cold bath. After running the cold bath, maybe you ask this child to take assignments. The assignment runs from maybe 5:30 to 6:30. Then the child, of course, has some domestic work to attend to at home. He takes his dinner, he jumps into bed. Then when is he going to have that time to actually read over what he has learned at school? So I would have loved a situation where we ensure that assignments are done within school hours, not even asking the child to take it home. Because if the children take the assignment during school hours, we will be able to monitor them and know whether they actually take this assignment themselves. But what we often find out is that these assignments are targeted at some thought forces, who are at home to actually lend their helping hands. I'm talking about either aunts or uncles or brothers or sisters or parents, as it were. Yes.
Wow. I'm actually enjoying this. I hope this can last for a very long time. I'm enjoying this actually. So now you teachers, a particular parent here in Ikorodu, and I'm very close to the parents, was complaining that the teacher of our kids or the teacher in our kids class eats the kids' snacks. I'm sure that's not alien to you. It's the kids now. I'm like, okay, I had to think for a minute, like, okay, I'm a teacher. Was there any time? Like, because I don't know how a teacher in his or her right senses, I feel that's too belittling of a teacher to do that. How will a teacher stoop so low to eat a kid's snack or to even collect money from the students? Like in secondary school, collect money from students, go and buy Pepsi for me, go and buy this one for me. How do you deal with such situations? Well,
we may not really have much of this in private schools, in all sincerity, though there are categories of private schools, classes of private schools. I don't see this happen in my school, for instance. Yeah. We are privileged to have CCTV camera, for instance, in our schools.
Oh, so wow.
There's hardly anything you can do that we won't even see. That's the truth. And maybe because of the fact that we're also always around our business, we're always around the school. The proprietress, of course, is also a legal practitioner like I am, and so one of us at a time is always there to monitor whatever they do. And of course, we have a contractual agreement between the employer-employee, so we expect that you don't deviate from it. So if, for instance, a teacher is in that habit, that inglorious habit, we won't take it as anything less than stealing, because stealing, of course, is causing to move without the consent of the owner. So when you take advantage of such a child, what you have actually done is deny the child his right, and that's stealing. That's exactly the way we're going to see. So like I said, it may not be common with private schools, but maybe public schools. I'm sorry, I don't mean any harm, but I doubt if
to be able to achieve such milestone. So now, concerning parents that actually take their students away from school after they've owed the school for a particular period of time, which way have you been able to navigate your way through? How have you been able to navigate?
Well, see, the truth is that you don't change a winning team. You don't change a winning team. We are lucky, as I said earlier. We actually run our school as a business, and by so doing, we ensure that everybody is happy in the relationship. For instance, I don't treat my students as objects. I treat them as humans, and I believe I have a good relationship with them. For instance, I often describe them as my employers, because I need them to be happy. I need them to be satisfied with my service delivery for them to remain in my school. So what I do, of course, perhaps because I'm a lover of football, I always go all out to get the best of teachers. Once you get the best of teachers, and the audience, your target audience, of course, are the students, and they are satisfied, and parents are getting value for their money, I'm sure parents are reasonable. They will go all out to ensure that they pay the school bills as and when due. So at our school, of course, it's not that we have it all rosy. It's not that there are no parents that are owing us. But of course, the truth is that we have more than 90% success when you are talking about student bills or fees. They pay this. And I think the reason they pay it is because they are getting value for their money, okay? Then talking about students or parents having to change the schools where their children attend. I believe that, like I said earlier on, they change this for many factors, which include, one, not getting value for their money. Number two, inconsistency in the teachers we use to teach these children. For instance, some school owners undo themselves, because when you don't pay your teachers and you lose your teachers to other schools, the attendant consequence, of course, will be that you have teachers almost every other day. So when there is no consistency in those who teach these children, of course, the parents will have no choice but to take them to a place where they know they enjoy practical sustainability and consistency. So our secret, therefore, is that we ensure that the teachers are happy. And once the teachers are happy, of course, it will snowball into the children themselves, the students being happy. And once all these persons are happy, of course, the parents themselves will be happy because they will get the result for what they pay their money for. So the issue of moving your child from one school to the other is actually a factor of how the school themselves relate with these children and the parents and the staff, as it were.
It looks like I'm going to write application letter to your school, because look, I'm enjoying this. Wow. Your teachers will be very proud of you as their boss. It takes a whole lot to be able to do this. Trust me. Aside being a Christian, I feel anybody that can do this has integrity.
Well, maybe because I'm also a legal practitioner. Okay? I'm a lawyer. And I believe that it's contractual. We're not doing these teachers any favor. Neither are the teachers doing us any favor. Either. Now, it's all about somebody offering his services in exchange for a certain agreed sum. Now, when you have this kind of contractual arrangement, it behooves on both parties to keep to the terms of the contract. Now, the teachers, of course, offer their services. At the end of the month, as it were, they are entitled to their remuneration. Even the Bible itself, is fast to say this, that the laborers deserve their wages. So if you pay your teachers, you are not doing them any favor. You are actually earning for what they have actually offered as services. So at our school, therefore, we make it a point of duty to pay our teachers every last Friday of the month. As a matter of fact, we signed a banker's order. So at times I don't even know when the teachers are paid, because I have told or instructed my bank that every member of staff of mine must be paid by last Friday of every month. And that's exactly, that's exactly what we have been doing. And by the grace of God, we hope to maintain that policy.
Amen. I'm actually praying for you in my mind.
Thank you.
Nigerian school owners cannot relate to what you just said, sir. They cannot relate. I'm sure some of them that are Christians, they didn't read this part of the Bible you just mentioned. And those that are unbelievers too, that are not Christians, I'm sure they cannot relate to this, because it's so unfortunate that they have to do that. You work your ass off from first of the month to the end, and they cannot pay you. Even I feel even if you have agreed to pay this person 5,000 naira, at the end of the month, the onus falls on you to be able to pay that person. That's because one, the person too has a family to fend for.
That's correct.
The person have kids too in other schools. The person have bills to pay.
That's correct.
So imagine you are owing me for 2 months now. I've taught the students, you have paid for the services that I've rendered to you. The students have paid, and yet you are not paying the teachers. So now going to the teachers, I got a question from a particular parent on why some teachers don't actually follow the scheme of work given to them.
That's strange to me. At my school, by the grace of God, I see this as one of the responsibilities of the head of departments and the principal officers.
Yes.
I mean the vice principal academic, the vice principal administration, and of course the principal. Now, teachers are expected to submit their up-to-date scheme of work and lesson notes, and we expect that they are religious about this. As a matter of fact, one other things I put in place at my school is to actually empower the class governors, or what is commonly referred to as class captains. Now, when a teacher comes into a class to teach, he doesn't come to that class to teach what he likes is actually expected to follow up with the scheme of work religiously. So when you come into a class to teach, the students themselves, they are already aware of the topics they have. So when you come in, of course, we have a kind of register that the teacher is expected to sign in and enter the topic that he is going to teach for that day. And at the end of that class, he's also expected to sign out of it. So there's no way a teacher can deviate from the scheme of work. Okay. So I believe that much will be expected of school owners by ensuring that they follow up on their teachers. Because if you don't follow up on the scheme of work, the truth is you are likely not going to cover up the scheme of work. And if you don't cover up on the scheme of work, it means when your students are going out for public examinations, such as the BECE or the WASC or the NECO SSCE, of course, they will not have sufficient knowledge of what they're expected to, do during the conduct of the exam. So it is key, therefore.
Students, when do you think it's appropriate for them to teach students in sex education?
As soon as they are students. As soon as they are students. I don't think it has to do with a particular age or time. As soon as they are students. The truth is that there's decadence, of morals in our society today. And if you don't teach your child and your students, then some people will help you teach that child outside. And I think that's why we have prevalence of pedophile activities on our hands. Now, if, for instance, in our school, what do we ensure that our children are conscious of their sex life is that as a female, for instance, you don't even go and see a male teacher in the staff room alone. It's a policy in our school that at least 2 girls at a time must see a teacher. We don't allow a female student to have a personal closeness or contact, as it were, with a teacher. So what we do is to ensure that we raise the consciousness and awareness of these children. Don't forget that even at home, these children suffer abuses, even from people who naturally would have been their trusted friends and talking about their relations. So, and even family. So what we do, of course, is to raise their consciousness about this. For instance, one slogan in our school is that your uncle is your uncle to the extent that he maintains the uncle relationship. If he's going out of his bounds, then he's no longer an uncle, yes, because he's already turning into an endangered species. So we teach sex education, though subconsciously, to the students, because it's not a topic in the class. But of course, when you come to assembly grounds, we try as much as possible to educate these children on what sex education is about. So for me, I don't think there is a particular age that is too young to learn and become conscious about the sensitive organ of his body.
Okay. So another question is, while I was growing up, I saw corporal punishment as a normal thing. I remember there was a particular day my English teacher flogged every one of us in the class. We practically had one thing to complain about. I think we did punishment and our thighs were aching. And all of us were, my mom will come to school tomorrow, my daddy will come to school tomorrow. But most of us, when we got home, we couldn't even open our mouths to tell our parents that this was what happened. But now, the story has changed in this generation. Discover that you cannot punish a child in school anymore. Before you know, you'll be praying to call the school owners. That's for the ones that are even civil. The ones that are military in their own approach, they come to the school and fight the teacher physically. So what's your perception about corporal punishment, and how do you instill discipline into your students?
Well, unfortunately, I don't even like us see it as punishment. If we see it as punishment, then to me it becomes cruelty. I believe we are only trying to correct the children. If we see it more as punishment, then we are talking about cruelty to the child. But if you see it more as correction, then you see it more as actually helping the child to grow in a proper way. At my school, of course, teachers have a right, a duty to scold any child. But of course, like I always tell them, you do this with love. The first thing you do to actually scold a child in my school is to tell the child what he or she has done wrong. Just like when you're effecting the arrest of a suspect, you tell the suspect the reason you are effecting that arrest, the reason you are making that arrest. So when the child has done such a wrong, you bring it to the notice of the child. You tell the child you have done A, B, or C, and you are not expected to have done that. After you have told that child what you have done wrong, then you tell him the punishment you are going to get out of him. And the punishment must not be seen to be degrading, so it doesn't turn to an infringement on the right to dignity of human persons. So in my school, I don't subscribe to any punishment other than just asking the child to maybe stretch out his hand and give him some few strokes on the palm, strictly on the palm, strictly on the palm. And another way you will punish a child, and I think I was privileged to have gone through this when I was also growing up as a child, of course, was to teach the child how to be academic inclined as a form of punishment. How do I mean? You will actually ask the child to write that I promise not to do A, B, or C again in 100 or 200 times. So when you say a child should do this, you're actually teaching the child how to write legibly. You're actually teaching the child how to, comport himself. That's what we do. But if it gets to an area where you say go and ride a bicycle, go and sit and lift your two hands, that's unfair to that child. So I don't encourage it, and you don't even do that in high school because, like I said, maybe because my teachers see me as a lawyer who will be out there to protect the right of the child. So I'll tell them, if you humiliate a child, you are infringing on his right to a dignity of another person, and you can't do that in our school. Okay? So we don't have that ugly incident or experience of a parent coming around to unleash violence on the teacher because we have a good relationship with our students. That's the truth. As a matter of fact, we see them more as our children, and not really as our students. And I think that is really helping us a great deal.
How do you deal with parents? I think as humans, we all want this kind of attention to be or not. I don't know if you should answer it. I personally like the attention from my parents. But then I found out some parents want to be given this preferential treatment.
Yes.
How do you handle such parents? We are paying the same school fee.
Yes, you see, my take on that is this, and it has worked for me. Also, due respect, I don't subscribe to parent-teacher association arrangement. I believe that my contract is with individual parents and child. You see, when we talk about attention seeking, some parents, of course, think they can lord themselves over the school. Some parents erroneously think that they are helping the school, by paying for their services. And I beg to differ on this. I believe it's a contractual relationship. I'm offering my services and you are paying for the service. So if you have any complaints, you come to us, we have our complaints mechanism. You come to us, you tell us. But by the time you have this parent-teacher association arrangement, you find out that at times they use it to even disorganize the smooth running of the school. The parent may be laboring under the fact that he is unable to meet up with the financial implications of having his child attend your school. Now, rather than cutting his coat out of his cloth, or in other words, rather than taking this child to a school where he can conveniently afford, he still wants to maintain that status that he does not have. So he becomes aggressive towards the school, and before you know it, you of course bring some people as allies, and they form this ally against the school. So what I do in my school is to tell you that I do a right customer relationship. If you have any complaint, I believe your complaint is peculiar to you. We bring it to the notice of the school and we address it. I don't believe in collective bargaining. I believe in individual complaints. You come to us, you tell us what you are experiencing, what you wish we do otherwise. Of course, if we think it's in the best interest of the school and the child, of course we take this advice and we thank you for offering us this advice at low cost. But if you are talking about parents reaching to have, unusual attention to themselves, well, I don't know, because as far as I'm concerned, I have a relationship with a parent and a child, not the totality of the parents at the same time. So that's what I feel.
Okay, I've actually learned one thing, something about what you just said now. The relationship between the school owner and the parent should be on a one-on-one basis. Rather than, because I found out that PTA, whatever, parent teacher association or whatever it is called, before you know it, some particular set of parents will connive together.
Yes,
and so they want to, whenever they have such meetings, they want their voice to be heard. Yes. Before you know it, they are actually, it's not like some people are oppressing, some people are the minority, yes, some are the majority. Yeah, that's true. So on a final note, finally, do you subscribe to this saying that the reward of the teacher is in heaven?
That's hasty generalization, because not all teachers will make heaven in the first instance. So how can your reward be in a place?
Everyone, where you're not making heaven?
So, it's a way of denying them their legal rights.
Exactly.
Let their rewards be given to them.
Be given on earth.
Or people say their reward is in heaven. For instance, what happens if the teacher is an atheist who does not even believe in the existence of heaven in the first instance? So I think it's just an unfortunate step. The teacher's reward should be in heaven, because to the best of my mind, unless you are saying that it is automatic that teachers make it to heaven. So if they are not making it to heaven, then how do they actually get the benefits of what they have labored for?
What advice, if you are in a position to advise the government on things that should be worked on in the educational system, what advice would you give?
Teachers are supposed to be the highest paid workforce of the country. That's the truth. For instance, I may work in an organization where I'm not expected to teach others and survive it. But if a teacher is not good, you have to know it. That's the truth. You are going to look. You can't give what you have. So if you look at it, I think what our government needs to work on is this: number one, ensure that teachers are treated like other professions. Pay teachers adequately. Ensure that only the best brains are admitted to our Faculty of Education. If you look at the education policy, the Faculty of Education is meant for the undergraduates. Now, for instance, when I went to study law, I had to score as high as 70% in my exam before I was offered admission. But if you want to study a course in the Faculty of Education, with as low as 45, 50, you could be offered admission. So it means ab initio you have shown that inferiority in that sector, that they are inferior to other professions. That's the truth. So I believe that for our government to attract the best brains into the education sector, number one, they should up their games and ensure that the cut-off match the Faculty of Education is as competitive as to other courses such as law, engineering. That's that. And when they come out, they should be well remunerated. When you pay them well, you see you attract the best brains into that sector. But unfortunately, you realize that even sectors where they don't need much of brains, they have the first-class materials of this world. And unfortunately, where you need the brains, you have people that are less than dummies as teachers. So what do you get? The after effect will be that you are giving the mediocres opportunity to teach the little they know to these children. So if I had that privilege of giving my advice to the government and the policymakers, of course I'll say, one, ensure that only the best brains are attracted to our Faculty of Education. Number two, ensure that they are well remunerated. That's all.
Yeah, that covers all as a matter of fact. You have said so much. Like, I really wish this interview can last longer, but we just have to go. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Thank you for the knowledge, because it takes a whole lot. It shows you have so much inside of you to be able to give us just a small part. So, if your parents in Ikorodu and you're actually thinking of a school to register your child or your children or your words, please, Master Point is the best place to be. Trust me. Like, you have first hand, everything first hand. The teachers are going to give you the best. You have a conducive environment, and you have the best hands, best hands. Like, I'm sure you have enjoyed this interview now. So what are you waiting for? Just go and register your kids. So on the last note, thank you very much for being on this episode of Real Life Lessons with Oyin. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you're watching this video and a subscriber, what do you gain? So thank you very much. Until we see you again, do have a great day.